It seems only fitting that Medal of Honor Warfighter's opening scene begins with a player having to perform a double take. A bearded soldier emerges from the water wearing a boonie hat and a stern expression firmly plastered across his face. No, it can't be. Captain Price, is that you? It turns out, of course, that this drenched double of the ballsy Brit isn't the famous fictitious soldier who biennially answers the call of duty. This is Preacher, one of two generic individuals who you'll have the displeasure of accompanying through a cliched, overworked, and totally unoriginal excuse for a first-person shooter. Put away the medals because Medal of Honor Warfighter deserves none.
Doing the right thing.
So that's it. You're out.
I'm down, not out.
Call of Duty, this is not, but that doesn't stop developer Danger Close from shamefully grasping every opportunity to copy the formulae of Activision's acclaimed FPS. From the time training tutorial to the slow-motion entry breaches, Warfighter is at times utterly dishonorable in its obvious ode to COD. However, this distasteful practice is confounded by the fact that Warfighter continually fails to match, let alone improve upon, the fundamentals laid down by its unmistakable muse. Warfighter puts you in the boots of Tier 1 operatives as you jet across specific areas of the globe which are undoubtedly evil in the eyes of the Western world. The Middle East, Asia, Eastern Europe. The story is threadbare, incoherent, and pitiful in its lack of imagination and execution. You're on the hunt for a terrorist leader known as the Cleric, who, if he isn't stopped, will blow up planet Earth. Well, not the planet, but definitely something. And hey, that's bad news, right? So naturally, it's up to the peacekeepers of the world to fight fire with fire, kill everything in their way, and save planet Earth from the tyranny of an angry Muslim madman. Although the game's missions are loosely inspired by actual events, the overriding plot is a prejudicial, loathsome depiction of the Middle East. At one point in the game, one member of your squad says, "I ain't going home till we've killed something." Yeah, oh, that's great. It's an unpalatable depiction of the armed forces, a frightening misuse of seemingly credible individual stories. The game's narrative does little to help matters. It's self-absorbed, sporadic, and devoid of any evocative moments. You'll be forced to sit through a verbal barrage of war jargon and military terms that strictly belong on the pages of an Andy McNabb or Tom Clancy novel, and will likely be meaningless to anyone who hasn't taken up arms for their country. Throw in a strange-looking child, an angry mother and wife, and a soldier who just wants out. And that's the closest Warfighter gets to any sort of emotional involvement. And it's as pathetic as it sounds. It's also the latest EA game to capitalize on DICE's fabulous Frostbite 2 engine. Therefore, somewhat unsurprisingly, Warfighter has a number of impressive visual effects and a generally pleasing graphical style throughout. There's destructible scenery and plenty of incidental effects, which give the game a sparkle. But all of this glitz and graphical splendor is hindered by the shackles of being locked down to a sluggish 30 FPS, and tarred by the occurrence of numerous glitches and persistent errors, even after you've downloaded and installed the crucial 230 megabyte day one patch. The end result is a game that feels as though you're constantly running through water, and one that bears more than a few evident scars that comes with being developed to a strict deadline without any real care and attention. Checkpoints are poorly placed, forcing you to repeat chunks of shooting monotony which you've already had to previously stomach. There's frustrating load times to sit through every time you die, and your HUD will rudely appear at the end and beginning of each forgettable cutscene for no apparent reason. There's also plenty of texture pop-in and clueless AI to contend with. But the presentation is not where it stops. The gameplay is, rudimentary? That's one word. It's the very definition of a linear corridor shooter. Your sole aim is to drive forward at all times, breaching door to door, ducking behind some cover once the red mist ensues, popping back out when your health has regenerated. There is very little in the way of any variation apart from persistent slow-motion set pieces, which continually fail to spark any sense of excitement or create any real drama. When the game does dare to deviate from the tedium above, it still manages to get things wrong. One particularly laughable mission literally consists of a cutscene firing one bullet at an unmoving target, which then triggers another cutscene, and that's it. Riveting stuff, we are sure you will agree. There's also the obligatory blueprint missions that make up every FPS, such as the on-rails turret sections, who doesn't love those, car chases, and sniping missions. It's a case of been there, done that. Familiarity definitely breeds contempt on this occasion. Perhaps mercifully, the campaign will only take you around 5 hours to complete. But that's enough of the single player. What about the multiplayer? This is a modern FPS. A multiplayer component that is often more exciting than the entire single player campaign put together. Well, don't worry, freedom fighters, because Warfighter manages to tick yet another box on the go-to checklist of how to create a first-person shooter with online play, almost making the campaign an acceptable afterthought. The mediocrity that encompasses the entire experience of the game still cannot be escaped online, but it's definitely the most entertaining part of this uniform package. So the multiplayer is okay, albeit it's more of what we've already played. Again. Medal of Honor Warfighter is so infatuated with imitating its peers, cashing in on the opportunity to make that quick buck, and devoid of all sense of individuality that you'll need more than a discarded dog tag to determine the game's true identity. Generic and banal, Warfighter is another misfire for the Medal of Honor series, and a slap in the face to the real-life war heroes who keep millions safe around the world. Do not enlist.